A new NBA era is upon us. People always talk about it, but I think we finally have gotten to that point. You got young teams like the Thunder, the Rockets taking over the NBA, and old teams are starting to get their way out. There's still some remaining old teams with experience, and I feel like a genius for predicting that the Warriors could make a late season push. And of course, my favorite team, the Spurs, are basically like winning the lottery right now. Castle and Wemby are the new gen Shaq and Kobe. The Spurs will come up later in this video, I just wanted to say that. But right now, I want to talk about all the future NBA teams that can be great, like build potential dynasties maybe. The first team I want to talk about today is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're a bit older than the other teams I'm going to be talking about, but they're still pretty young. They already got their future superstar established, Anthony Edwards. They have tons of potential, and last year they even made the conference finals. They're struggling a bit this year, but they picked it back up. I personally love this team, and there's a lot of pros to it, but there's one major con. This is a very good team, but they are in a stacked conference. The Western Conference has always been a really good conference and really hard to compete in, and I just feel like with all the other teams in the Western Conference, their team isn't quite strong enough. I don't think they have to make a drastic change though. I just feel like add a really good player to play alongside Anthony Edwards. Rudy already might be his co-star, but I feel like they just need something more. Gobert is a very big part of their defense, but I feel like they just need to give him up. If they want to achieve more, maybe get another offensive player. They're currently the ninth seed, and they already have amazing defense. So I feel like they can maybe go by without Gobert, especially with Naz Reid. So as someone that they can potentially trade for. I'm just throwing out ideas here, and this might be crazy, but go get a guy like Ja Morant. Ja's already in talks about the Grizzlies trading him, and I feel like the Timberwolves have the assets to get him. You look at their current point guard, Mike Conley, and he's just old. Conley's only got like a few years left, while Ja has like a major career ahead of him. And I know Dillingham has a high ceiling, but I don't know if he has a really high ceiling compared to Ja Morant. Morant at his peak can be a top 10 player in the league. I still believe he still has that potential. Ja is not the greatest defensive player, but he's decent also. Ja Morant is obviously a really high caliber player, so I got a few ideas. Now here's how I think the trade would work out. The Grizzlies receive Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and a 2027 first round pick. And the Timberwolves would receive Ja Morant and Luke Kennard. Now, I'm not 100% on this trade, but I feel like it's a positive for both teams. Now, this could be a major positive for the Grizzlies because they get another good defender next to Jaren, and they get Mike Conley back to mentor their young players. And the Timberwolves, this is a positive for them because obviously they get Ja Morant, a really good scorer, to improve their scoring. And they get Luke Kennard, who is very underrated in my eyes. I feel like he is much more than a shooter. And if you watch him, he's doing much more than just, volume shooting. But yeah, I spent way too long on the Timberwolves. I probably won't spend too long on the other teams, but this is just what I think about them. Now, I got the OKC Thunder. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this team. They already got an MVP contender and a really good supporting cast. They don't really need to make any changes. They're already contenders in the West, and I feel like they can win a championship as early as next year. Now that we got them out of the way, I got the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers probably still have a couple more years of rebuilding to do, but they have amazing young players right now that can blossom into all-stars. I believe they have a top 5 rebounder in the league in Klingon, and he's only going to get better, including their other players too. I believe in future years, they have the potential to compete with the best in the Western Conference. And I don't know, maybe you Trailblazers fans can get another championship. I believe that Shaedon Sharpe can become like a top 20 player in the league, and you also just have like other great players, but I think Shaedon Sharpe is eventually going to turn into your superstar. My only issue with this team is that they're a bit top heavy right now. which will make them have to choose between some players, which can be a very hard decision for some franchises. The main two people, though, are probably Klingon and DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton is like a huge contract, and I think they need to get rid of him. But you don't want to get rid of him for nothing, but I don't really know what he's worth. So they might have to make the decision to let him walk, which really sucks because DeAndre Ayton had the potential to be an NBA great, but he just never had the work ethic. So yeah, that can be a major loss to the Portland Trailblazers. Next, I want to talk about the Rockets. My only problem with this team is I don't know if they really have a really good superstar. Obviously, I have Jalen Green, which is, don't get me wrong, he's very good. And I believe he's going to continue to improve. But I believe his ceiling isn't as high as some of the other guys I've mentioned already. But I believe the Rockets can make up for that with their just crazy depth. And if you want to complain about too much threes in the NBA, turn on a Houston Rockets game, and they'll show you that you can still win without threes, which I really like that for the team. But again, like the Timberwolves, I don't know if they can compete with the future, like, really, really good teams in the Western Conference. And to finish off the Western Conference, I finally got my team, the San Antonio Spurs. And just to warn you guys, please take all what I say about my team with like a grain of salt. Maybe because, I'm looking at the team with rose-tinted glasses. I've always loved the Spurs, so I'll be like gassing them up pretty hard. But, maybe don't take what I say with a grain of salt because I still, without my rose-tinted glasses on, believe that they could be contenders in the future. This is another team where, again, I don't have much flaws with, which also, again, might be because I'm a Spurs fan. But, there's I can see some obvious flaws, and I'll get into them in, a second. But they're not really flaws. They're just, little humps they have to go through. They obviously have plenty of talent, and their future starting lineup could, rival the Thunders. And I'm a huge Stephon Castle fan, huge. I believe that he can be, a very good player in the future, a future all-star. And, he's just, one of my favorite players right now. But, with all of that, I have to get to my one flaw. And again, it's not really a flaw, but, I feel like this could be a problem in the near future. I said the same about the Trailblazers, and they're just top-heavy. If they want to keep De'Aaron Fox, they're going to have to pay him. If Wemby's going to have a pretty good contract once his current contract expires. Same with Castle, probably. And, they have many young players that are still going to develop into, players with very good contracts. And I hope that some players are willing to take a budget cut because I believe this team, if all of them are in their primes playing together, they are, unstoppable. Now, starting off the Eastern Conference, a team that I think has a really bright future is the Orlando Magic. You take a simple look at them, they have one of the best defenses in the league, and, I have a lot of positive things to say about them, but there's one glaring issue, and that is their offense kind of sucks. But this is very fixable. They already have a pretty good scorer in Paolo Banchero. They just have to improve their shooting, basically, because in the modern NBA, to survive, you need shooting. And I have one player on my mind that they can possibly acquire. And that is Lollipop Hair himself, Trae Young. Here's what the deal would look like. The Orlando Magic send over Franz Wagner, Gary Harris, and the 2025 first-round pick. And, of course, the Orlando Magic get Trae Young. Now, I can see them giving up less for Trae Young. This is probably, a trade the Hawks would take, though. And, it's a positive for both teams. Orlando gets its shooting, and the Hawks get young players and a pick. And this can make the Orlando Magic a genuinely scary team. Now I got the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls have been so fun to watch as of recently, and I think their main flaw is just they just need to develop their players. They've got everything. Just coach your players, and they'll probably blossom. I don't see this team getting future championship contention. I don't really know what they could do, but I can see also them impressing everyone and becoming a really good team in the future. Now I got the Detroit Pistons. They're set with Cade Cunningham, and again, like I said with the Bulls, they really just need to develop their players. And they're already in a way better spot than they were in last year, because last year the 2-26 Pistons, that was a really bad team, but this year they've made a major improvement, and they're going to be contenders in the East for a while. And finally, for the Eastern Conference, I got the Indiana Pacers. This team, I say, just surround Tyrese Halliburton with good defenders and good shooters. Like, get him OG Anunoby, Luke Kennard. Like, those shooters/defenders, 3-and-D guys are perfect for this team. Because I feel like Tyrese Halliburton with a passing threat has already been proven to be amazing. And all he needs is that one player that he can just kick it out and trust to make a shot. That's why Buddy Hield was such a good addition to this team. And I apologize if the Eastern Conference seems rushed. I just don't think they have quite as bright of a future as teams in the Western Conference. But, there's for sure some teams that I left out that, were in consideration. And if you enjoy this video, leave a like, possibly. I'm not forcing you. And also possibly subscribe. Anyway, goodbye.